All right, what's up, world? What's up, Facebook? This is Asosa once again with Truth a Lot Thursdays, question number 2. Before I get into that, I want to just make a quick announcement about basic training for 2017. If you want more discipleship, if you're in the Detroit area and you want more discipleship in the kingdom, hit me up, inbox me. You know, we are doing a 12-week series basically to cover the basics of the faith, just real foundational, solid teaching and training, not just filling your head, but changing actions and all that good stuff. 12 weeks, if you can make a commitment, inbox me. We're starting basic training on January 9th. We had a really good session last year, and we're looking forward to another great training this year with some people that are excited about being involved. So if you are interested in doing that, hit me up, please, very soon. Truth a Lot Thursdays, doubts, questions, beliefs about the Bible. And this next question I have says, the model of the believing family is Christ, husband, wife. What if the husband is in unbelief and the wife suspects things happening in the home? If the husband is out of order, can the house be out of order because of it? And what is the wife's response, especially in regards to the children? Okay, so this is a very sensitive topic, but the Bible does have answers on this, and 1 Corinthians 7 talks about the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband, and the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife. Okay, so you don't have to leave your spouse if they're an unbeliever. Who knows, you may be able to save your spouse, right? And then it talks about the children, and it said the children, it's actually more, there's more confident language in regards to the children. When it talks about the spouse, it says, who knows, you may be able to save your wife, you may be able to save your husband. But when it comes to the children, it says, yes, your children will be sanctified, your children will be holy. So what that tells me is that if one spouse is a believer, then the children can definitely be saved. But it's not going to automatically happen. It's according to your faith. And what is your faith? Your faith is represented by your works. It's represented by your words. It's represented by your prayers. And it's represented by your hopes and your plans. Okay, so if you put the work, if you don't take your children to church, if you don't preach the gospel to them, if you don't read the Bible to them, then okay, you're not putting any works with your faith. But if you are a believer, even if your husband or your wife is not a believer, if you are a believer and you put the faith and the work into your faith, your children will definitely be saved and be holy. The language is very strong in that scripture in 1 Corinthians 7. Now, when it comes to the man or the husband or the wife, it's a little bit like, okay, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, because God can't really force anybody's will, especially somebody that's set in their ways. So 1 Peter 3 says, likewise, you wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may be without the word be won by the lifestyle of the wives, when they behold your chaste lifestyle coupled with fear. So you can't preach to your husband if your husband is not listening. Vice versa, you can't preach to your wife if your wife is not listening. You have to be an example, and especially towards the wives. The wives have to be an example, and they have to be an example of obedience and reverence with the fear of God. And basically what you're doing is you're showing your husband how you would treat him if he was saved. And then that kind of creates the appetite in him to say, well, maybe if she's respecting and obeying me, maybe I should respect and obey God. That's what you're doing when you obey the scripture, 1 Peter 3, verse 1. You're creating a thirst. You're creating a space where your husband can just slide into his role of obedience and respect. And you do that not by yapping, but by giving him the obedience and respect that you're supposed to give him. So, once again, with the children, it's a lot more certain. All you have to have is one spouse saved, and they can basically sanctify and make their children holy. But when it comes to the spouse, It's a little bit more finesse. It's a little bit more, maybe it will work, maybe it won't. It's definitely powerful to walk in your faith and to express your faith to your spouse. But you can't guarantee anything, but your faith will work if you work it. And if you depend on God and wait on God to speak to your spouse, instead of trying to beat them down when they're not listening, then God will work. And God definitely does speak to people. God can't force people, but God can speak to people according to your faith. So